Hi Year 4 and welcome to our final lesson on time and hopefully our final recorded maths lesson as well from home before we see you back in school next week. Okay, so today it is the 5th of the 3rd, 2021, and our learning objective is to convert analog and digital time, and we're looking at the 24-hour clock today. So pause the video and write today's date and learning objective. Okay, so let's review what we looked at on Wednesday, learning how to convert between analog and digital time on the 12-hour clock. So can you look at these 4 clocks below, and I want you to write each of the times in the digital format. So if you remember, we start with the hour followed by the minutes. So pause the video now and have a go at writing the digital times for each clock. Okay, so let's see how you got on. So the first clock here, you can see that the hour hand is just after 1. So the hour is 1, and then we can count around the clock in 5s to work out the minutes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So the time is 25 past 1, and we write this as a digital time as 1:25. The next time, the hour hand is just after the 3, so the hour is 3, and then the minute hand is all the way round, halfway round on the 6, so it's 3:30. So as a digital time, we would write down the time as 3:30. On this next clock, the hour hand, now it's almost coming up to 11 o'clock. It's almost on the 11, which means it's not quite 11 o'clock. So the hour has to be the hour before. So the hour would be 10, and if I count round the clock in 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So the time is 10:40, and we would say that time as 20 minutes to 11 when we're reading an analog clock. But on the digital clock, it is 10:40. And then on our final clock here, you can see the hour hand is nearly on the 2, so it's nearly coming up to 2 o'clock, not quite 2 o'clock, and the minute hand is on the 11. So I wouldn't always need to count round my clock in 5s to work this out, because I know there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, and this is 5 minutes before the hour, so I know that it would be 55. So the hour would be 1 because it's not yet 2 o'clock, so it's 1:55. Well done for having a go at those questions. So let's remind ourselves, this page is just here to remind you of the difference between an analog clock and a digital clock. So you can look back at this at any point if you need a reminder of how to tell the minutes on the time on an analog clock, looking at the minutes past the hour or the minutes to the hour, to remind yourself of changing to digital time by counting around the clock in 5s, and this is what the digital time would look like, the hour followed by the minutes. So let's have a reminder of what we know about the 24-hour day. Oh, okay, so a day has 24 hours in it, and a clock has 12 hours, an analog clock. This means that each time will happen twice every day, 2:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon. Another way of writing this would be using AM and PM, which is what we looked at last week, how we wrote the times using AM for the morning and PM for the afternoon and evening. Now, a 24-hour clock is another way that we can write the time, and this means that the hours after 12 noon, so 12 at lunchtime, are converted to 1300 hours to 2300 hours. So let's have a look at that a bit closer about what that means. So 24-hour time in the afternoon. So we're looking at how to convert time. So to convert between 12 and 24-hour time in the afternoon, you need to add or subtract 12 hours and change the format. So if we looked at the time 6 p.m., 6 p.m. would be in the evening, to change the time written from 6:00, we add 12 to the hours only, not to the minutes. The minutes remain the same. We just add 12 to the hours. So 6 add 12 is 18. So 6 p.m. written as a 24-hour clock would be written as 18 ... 00. Okay, 1800 hours. And then to change from a 24-hour clock to a 12-hour clock, we do the opposite. We do the inverse. We subtract 12. So if the time here was 22.30, we take away 12 from the hours. So 22 take away 12 is 10. So 22.30 would become 10:30. And here is the table, and this might help you today if you wanted to refer to it at any point. This table shows you the conversions between the 12-hour clock and the 24-hour clock and how they would be written as a digital time. So 12 o'clock at night would be written as 0.00, and on a 24-hour on a 24-hour clock and a 12-hour clock, the times are down here. So after you get to 12 at lunchtime, you can see then with the numbers go from 13 up to 23. So 1300 hours is 1 p.m. 1400 hours 2 p.m. 1500 hours is 3 p.m. 1600 hours 4 p.m. 1700 hours 5 p.m. and so on. So that table there is to help you if you need to refer to it at any point. So let's have an explore. I want you to fill in the gaps on this 24-hour number line. So you can see the numbers at the bottom are the times going from 1 p.m. up to 12 a.m. and the times at the top are the times on a 12-hour clock. So you would need to add or subtract 12 to work out the missing number. So we'll do the first one together. So 1, you can see, is 1 add 12 is 13. 2 add 12 is 14. So here we've got the number 15, and to work out the missing number, we would need to subtract 12. So 15 subtract 12 is 3. Okay. Can you work out what the next numbers on these number line would be? And if you actually drew out this number line in your book, it may help you when you're converting today. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at that now. Okay, so 4 add 12 is 16, one of the missing numbers. 8 add 12 is 20. 22 subtract 12 is 10. And 11 add 12 is 23. I wonder if you can now, let's have a think about how we can record these times below using a 24-hour digital format. So 4 p.m. So actually I can use this table to help me now. So 4 p.m. So if I look at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, because it's p.m. we know there's 16 there. So 4 add 12 is 16. So it would be recorded as 16:00. That's how we would record 4 p.m. as a 24-hour digital time. Can you now have a go at recording 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. as a digital time, please? Okay, so 8 p.m. So I can use this table again to help me. 8 p.m. would be 20:00, and 11 p.m. would be 23:00. So those 3 times, that's how they would be written on a 24-hour digital time. And this number line has helped me to work that out. Okay, so now we're going to explore matching analog and digital times. So you've got 4 clocks here and 4 digital times, and we need to work out each clock, what the time is, and find the digital time for it. So let's have a look at the first clock together. So the time here, so if I look at the hours, the hour is just after the 7, so the hour would be 7, and it might help to write the time as you go along, as you work it out, because then you can convert it into, you can look for the 24-hour time. So the time is 7 and the minute hand is on the 2, which would be 5:10. So the time is 7:10 for the first clock. And actually, if I look along the bottom, I can see that I've got the time 7:10 there, so I can match those up straight away. The next clock would be, so the hour hand is just after the 9, and the minute hand, so I'm going to write this down as I go along, so the hour is 9, and the minute hand is on the 4, so that would be 5, 10, 15, 20. So the time is 9:20. Now I don't see 9:20 at the bottom, so I need to find out what the converted 24-hour time is. So I add 12 to the hours, if you remember. So 9 add 12 is 21. So I do see 21:20. So 9:20 written as a 24-hour time would be 21:20. Now I want you to pause the video and see if you can work out the last 2 times and write down the digital times for each clock. Pause the video now and have a go at those. Okay, so the next clock would have been, so the hour hand is just after 1, so the hour is 1, and the minutes are, minute hand is on the 2, which is 10. So the hour is 1 and the minutes are 10. So if I add 12 to 1, I get 13. So the time would be 13:10 on a 24-hour clock. And then the final clock here, you can see that the hour hand is just after 12. So you may have written at the time like this, 12, and then the minute hand is round on the 9, so that would be 12:45. And if you remember, when we would write 12 a.m. if it's morning, we would write it as 00, and if I take 12 away, you can see that I get 0. So 00:45. Okay, again, you've got the times here for each clock. You've got a time in a 12-hour digital clock and the time in a 24-hour digital clock. So you need to match up each time with the clock. So you can either pause the video and have a go at that now, or you can go through it with me. So let's look at the first clock together. So the minute hand is the shorter hand. So the minute hand is just after 1. And then, the hour hand is just after 1, and the minute hand is actually just before 1 this time. So the hour is going to be 1, and the minute hand, I could estimate that the minute hand is about, so if I imagine these have 1-minute intervals, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's about on the 4th minute there. So I think this time is 1:04. Now to find the correct 24-hour time, I need to add 12 to 1. So 1 add 12 is 13. So the matching time for this clock would be 13:04. Okay, looking at the next clock then, so the hour hand is just after 4, so the hour would be 4, and the minute hand is on the number 2, so 10 minutes around the clock, 5:10. So I would have 4:10 as my 12-hour clock, and then to work out the 24-hour time, I add 12 to 4, so 4 add 12, or 12 add 4 is 16, so I can see that the time here is 16:10. And then the final clock, I know we've got the 2 times here, but let's just look at what we can see on the clock. So the hour hand is just coming up to 9. Okay, so if you remember, if it's not quite 9 o'clock yet, we go to the hour before. So the hour before would be 8, and then the time here would be 1, 2, 3. I'm just thinking about the minutes that would be in between. So it's about on 53 there. So the time is 8:53, and if I do 8 for my hours, add 12, the time is 20:53. Okay, so look at the clock here shown. I want you to think about what time is shown on this clock and write down the time in a 24-hour digit time. So that's your first task. And then I want you to write down the time that would be 1 hour later. So this time you have a go at writing the time shown on a 24-hour digital time and then write down the time that you think would be 1 hour later. Pause the video and off you go. Okay, so the time shown on this clock. So let's have a look. If we're going to write it, so as a 24-hour time. So the hour hand is just after the 3. So to write down the hour as a 24-hour time, I need to do 3 and then add 12 to 3. So 12 add 3 is 15. Okay, and then I do my colon, and then I can do the minutes. So the minutes on this clock is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 3:25 is the time shown on my clock. And then the hour time, the time at 1 hour later, well, all that changes on this clock is the hours, and I just increase that hour, that time by 1 hour. So instead of being 15:25, the time would be 16:25. Okay, so if a clock shows this time, the time could be 1740. Is that true or false? So you need to work out what the time is on this clock and see if you think it is true or false, and write down how you know if it's true or false. Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so let's look at the time. So the hour hand is just before the 6, so the hour would be 5. And if we're thinking about the clock as a 24-hour clock, so 5 add 12 would be 17. And then the minute hand is on the 8. So counting round in 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. The time is 1740. So actually, I think this is true, and it's true, and I know this because 1740 is the same time as 5:40, or you could write it as 20 minutes to 6. So that was a true question. So here's your checkpoint question. Sally leaves school at the time shown on the clock. She arrives home 1 hour later. What will the time be on a 24-hour digital clock? So I need you to write the time, look at the time on the clock, and write down the time that is 1 hour later in a digital time on a 24-hour clock. So pause the video now and have a go at that question. Okay, so the time shown would be 3:20, and as a digital time that would be written as 15:20. So 1 hour later would be 16:20. So if you got that question correct, you start on step 2. If not, have a go at step 1 and then move through the steps as much as you can. So here is step 1. You're writing down the digital times using the 24-hour clock. If it helps to write it as a 12-hour clock first, you can, and then put it as a 24-hour clock. Step 2. Step 3 questions. And some final digging deeper challenges here. Step 1 answers. Step 2 answers. Step 3 answers. And the digging deeper answers. Well done, Year 4. You've worked really hard on time, and I can't wait to see you back in school next week. So I will see you then.